Welcome everyone to this launch webinar, and this time it's for the rental module, the new rental module, and it's a little bit longer webinar than we usually have, but I think that will be fine. It's needed for this one, so that's good. Okay, I think today we'll start with Odd Magne. He will talk a little bit about pricing regarding this rental module. Okay, Odd Magne.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, so I have hijacked the start of the meeting. We discussed internally and kind of agreed that we thought there would be questions about pricing of the module of the functionality since it's a launch webinar. Also, like some of you already know, we have talked about that there will be some other slight changes to the price model. So we will go through them quickly now. I'll try not to steal too much time because there is a lot of other things to go through in the webinar. And if you have a lot of questions, I think we should book a separate session for that afterwards, so that we don't kind of steal all the important time from the webinar, the original intended agenda. But just to make it short and sweet, we are doing some price changes. There are two major changes. One of them is the introduction of a RAM-based core license. I'll show the details of it on the next slide. This is a license that will start running from signature date. It's a small element, so it's still kind of it's still valid to say that we don't do too much upfront payment, but there will be a license element running. There's two reasons for that. One is to secure some revenue, both for us and for you as partners. The other thing is to also, can I say, tie the customers a bit closer to the project from the start. We have had a couple of incidents now where we see that that they think they can opt out easier if they haven't kind of invested so much money in the project. So so that's the reasons behind it. The other major change is introduction to on module prices for some modules. It doesn't change the user setup per se, but it adds on for some modules. And there are some small adjustments on the user prices as well. We will send this and summarize it and send it in a separate presentation for you. And I think we'll have a kind of a separate meeting with the commercial people at every partner as well, just to kind of go through it in detail. It will only be valid for new customers as of today, kind of going forward. But of course, when it comes to upsell and selling new modules, this can be a good chance to actually update the old contracts. Quite a few old customers have contracts that are, what can I say, mature for a review. If you have some sales cases that have been presented with the old prices but not been signed yet, send them to me and Ketil for approval. Then you will get an approval with a time limit on how long we can keep the old prices valid, so that we don't mess up any kind of final commercial discussions with existing customers. It looks like this. The core license adds on, so it is a price increase, to be very honest with you. We don't present it like that to the existing customers, to the new customers, of course. It won't affect the existing customers, but again, if we do new contracts, this will be an element that will come in. If they go for the basic price model, then they will pay for 999 per month. If they go for the flexible ones, there are 3 levels depending on how big they are. So this is on top of the user license. It doesn't replace the user license. It's on top of it, and it is from go live. No, from signature, sorry, and it continues to run after go live. The module prices, and here there are a slight change that is really important. If we look behind the gray line here, rental and subscription, 2 sides of the same thing, with or without logistics have a module price that comes on top of their user prices. These modules won't add extra duty points, as we call them. So a user today that have full access or is a cross-functional user don't need any extra user points to use it. And also a functional user won't crawl up to a cross-functional user to use the rental or subscription module. So that is why we introduce module pricing on it. At the same time, we do the same thing to the quality modules. This has been a recurring request from customers as well, that they struggle to, or that at least some of them don't want to roll out quality functionality because it increases the user levels for all users. And then it's cheaper for them to use an external tool. So we are adding module prices here for these modules as well. So this, as I say, will be rolled out quite quickly and will be available for all of you to use. And you will get the separate presentation on how to kind of present it to the customers. As you see, also some slight changes on the user prices. The base user will be we lift it from 49 to 99. That was all from me. Stole 8 minutes, and I guess there will be questions later, but I hope we can keep them to a minimum just now. But if there are something that is really, really important, should we have it now, Elin, or should we just say no questions?
We have time for one question, one really important one. If not, I think we will need to continue. No. I guess everyone can take it with you in the direct meetings later on. Okay. Thank you, Odd Magne. Then it is Christian, I think, who can start, I guess.
Hello. Yes, some milestone this for us, hopefully for you as well. Well, this session is more or less all about rental. Having that said, we will in the first minutes at least spend some time on pushing up what we call service-based business model to put rental and subscription into the context of that business model, because we have other features in RamBase as well that will kind of fit that business strategy. So we'll spend some minutes on that in the start, and I will start sharing PowerPoint. And further on into the session, will be a bit more focused around rental. So we will do it in this way, that we will use PowerPoint in the first section of the session, and the last part, or the second part, we will spend more time going into features and functions in RamBase.
If anyone has any questions, when do you want to have them?
I think we can just have them on the go, and of course you will have the option to either raise your hand or put it in the chat or something like that. That's fine. So could also, of course, in the end, in addition, open up for like in Q&A if that's needed.
Thank you.
All right. So maybe I forgot to introduce myself, but Christian, I'm working in the product management in RamBase, and has responsibility for the rental module, among other modules. I tend to bring this slide with me in most of the stuff I present. As we are approaching the release or the launch of this module, we have a lot of features and functions in it, but as well, we will mention some dates today, or at least periods, where we are planning to release the module. So, you know, with plans, they tend to change sometimes. So just have that in mind. Speaking about service-based business model, we've seen during the recent years, both in context of existing customers, as well as in the market in general, and also via the sales leads that we present RamBase for, that the service-based business model is being adopted increasingly. So that is kind of a sum of the background to why we have invested heavily in developing a new rental module. So we see that kind of maybe companies that has been a pure manufacturing company or other within other segments have slightly started to adopt the service-based business model. But also some companies have actually converted to being what we call like a pure rental company, as one example. And there might be various reasons for that, but I think in most cases it's the opportunities that this business model is giving the companies. So we will compare kind of this business model towards the more standard business model with manufacturing something or selling something versus actually delivering through rental or subscription, or maybe a mix of them. But if we think about, you might see in the market that companies are branding like a robot as a service or whatever actually. That falls within the service-based business model. So we have rental, which we define as more asset-oriented rental. So it involves logistics and so on. You have subscription, which at least we define as typical examples is that you're giving access to your client for services. So an example could be some software licenses. And actually we see some delivering subscriptions just for a pure service, while other ones are actually delivering subscriptions in combination with either selling or renting physical products. A typical example there could be that you are actually selling, let's say, a robot, but for the client to be able to use the robot, they will need to buy a license in addition. And there is other ways of delivering this within this business model, like more outcome-based models and so on. But the thing is that by delivering via this model, you will actually get more opportunities. And by opportunities, I mean both in context of obviously gaining more revenue, but also having more insights into your deliveries, because you'll have devices and assets that you rent out to your clients, so they will have it at their disposal for a period. And during this period, you will get more touch points between your company and the client, because you'll maybe have some insights being served via some software devices. So using the robot and the license again as an example, the software installed in within the robot or within the system would actually update and give you insights into kind of how the products are being used, when it's being used, and all that stuff that will give you again an option to further develop your products. But also when it comes to the maintenance and repair, usually you don't kind of earn money directly on the maintenance, but if the products are broken, you'll have a good at least chance to charge your client for it, compared to other cases where you might have sold a product and the client is more free to choose where to repair it or whether to repair it or not. So this is some examples we would say on why this service-based business model is being adopted more and more in the market. And again, comparing like a call it traditional sales model, where you can manufacture something or you can even purchase something and just sell it straight after, then you'll have fewer touch points because you have the sales order, you have the dispatch where you're shipping the products, the client will receive it and have it at their disposal. But then what? Compared to a service-based model, using again a robot as a service, where you have the contract representing, you know, the rental period and so on. But after the in this case robot has been checked out and the client will have it at their disposal, you might, as I said, have some licenses. You might have some opportunities to earn money on installation activities. There might be consumed some hours, expenses. You might use some materials within the installation. And also when it comes to the maintenance and repair, again, you'll have some opportunities to charge your client for it. But also, as I said, during this process, you will have more opportunities of capturing insights into how the products are being used, which again can help you of developing your products more. So putting this into a RAMBase context, we have job order management, which has been previously known as the pod. Well, it is still pod in the applications, but you know, we have rebranded the module. This is the module where you can actually, going back to the consumption of hours, material and expenses and so on towards some installation activity. This is then the module which might suit the customers the best. And then we'll have subscription and equipment rental, which is in the end, or in RAMBase, it's the same core functionalities that we will actually demo later on, but you have the rental contract and most of the features and functions are the same. It does also mean that within one rental contract, you'll have the option to both add rental contract items and subscription contract items. If we have a bit more focus on the equipment rental, in all cases, you need to have some support for the process of doing service or maintenance on your rental assets. And we have the rental service module, which is serving these processes. So typically for equipment rental, you'll need to have some preparation jobs before you're checking out the equipment to the client. But you'll also have not a preparation job, but more like an inspection job when the rental assets has been checked in to your rental fleet again. And in both cases, the service module will support you in those processes. So this is typically connected to the process that for rental companies that do tend to call a turnaround or turnaround time. So the process of making it, receiving it back and making it available for a new rental. So when we speak about the service-based business model, we have several modules in addition to kind of the core functionalities in RamBase that we speak about. And this is then the job order management, the service module, and the subscription rental. There might be some questions around this. You'll have an option to fire away. If not, I will continue. But I will continue with more focus on rental. So what's new? Well, I guess we will have the full answer on that one in the end of the session. But it's always a good idea to highlight something. And we do have a lot of new features and functions, but well, this list provides you at least some highlights. And we've had rental in RamBase for several years. I think we released the new, not the new, but the first rental module back in 2013. And by that time, we had a flexible and solid, good rental module for typical companies which has another core business than rental, but does have some rental on the side. What we've done now is that we have developed a new rental module, a better one, and we can also say that we will now have a solid basis for also targeting companies that has rental as their core business. So some of the constraints or limitations within the previous one was that there was some missing capabilities of being able to book the same rental asset, the serialized rental asset, to different or multiple future rental contracts. But also there was some pain points regarding actually the process of checking the availability within your rental fleet. So this ties back into what we've called the multi-level rental availability. So we'll have some look at that process as well during the demo. We've also separated what we call rental and sales pools. So we'll have now within the same location or same warehouse a more separated sales pool, which means that what you have available for sales consumption will be separated from what you have available for rental. Obviously, there's a lot of more things that will be mentioned during the demo, but I think flexibility is a keyword for both rental companies, but also for the new module. Because within rental, things are more uncertain than just manufacturing something and selling it, to put it a bit on the spot. The market fit, I think this highlights it in an okay way. But I also think that the main message that I might repeat is that even though we launch the new module, making it available for all, we would like you to consult us in the qualification of sales leads, to be kind of to assure that we are selling this into the companies which is a good fit. I will try to elaborate a bit on that. So going into the safe zone first, and this represents where we have the most existing customers, which has been important stakeholders into the project of making this new module. We'll have the Nordic oil and gas supply, so companies delivering to the mentioned market. We have the aquacultural supply, which might fall into the product as a service. So we do have existing customers, and that's kind of the safe zone to put it into a category in a way. If we think about what's listed within the no entry zone, we have a construction rental, which most often tells you that companies within this segment is a lot more project oriented than others. So it's not just that the rental capabilities might not suit the company as good as we've wanted, at least now on short term, but also the other capabilities within RamBase. This project thing might have other limitations in other places in RamBase as well. I also put up a wet hire. You could also always discuss if that's a no-go or if it's at least a risk zone, but wet hire is a word used for companies that, in addition to renting or serving rental assets to the client, they are also serving the operators. So they're delivering some rental assets in combination with the operators. And this might be at least a risk in some cases where the companies then will have the need of planning within the pool of operators and so on. But again, the main message is that we would like you to consult us when needed for the qualification of sales leads, which falls into the rental category, where the objective is to use the new rental module, and we will gladly help in that process. So, speaking about the new rental module, it was released, at least within the controlled available, as we call it. So we've been working with 2 pilot customers. In our context, other big companies, pure rental companies. Rental is their core business. And we went live with one of these customers in November last year, and we will have another one early this year. So the point is, from November and until we will give more information, both in this session, but also, in this release notes and so on. The module is being controlled available, and the focus is to stabilize the solution together with these companies. So we've run the project in cooperation with Tower Nyco, or formerly previously known as BDO. But this launch is about making the module available for all. and that will happen during Q1. And the plan is that it will happen during mid of February. It does also mean that the existing or the remaining existing customers will be onboarded to the new rental module with our support during this year, 2026. Which again means that the old rental is approaching its end of life. So if it hasn't been said, stop selling the old rental module and start selling the new one with our dedicated support. Any questions related to this? No. Then I'll move on. What we see within the rental industry is that they have some common challenges that we've solved. You'll have one thing is the machinery financial linkage, which means that, well, based on the type and value of rental assets, but the most common thing for rental assets is that you've connected them to a fixed asset, and you'll have this depreciation and so on, which we'll come back to in the demo. But to have like a good overview, good processes for that is or might be a challenge for rental companies. You can also see utilization as being mentioned for the first time. Utilization is something out of importance as well, because it highlights within the rental fleet or the rental pool, you'd like to have as high utilization as possible on your assets. So this also is kind of a KPIs and metrics that is or will be available within the rental module as well. I mentioned the availability process to have visibility into that. So when both measuring or having reviewing the rental fleet or your rental fleet, all your hundreds or thousands of assets is important to support that in context of the utilization as well, but also when creating, you know, quotes and orders and stuff, it's important to have good and relevant information in those processes. And if you don't have a good system or software for that, you'll have a challenge. The point that says the disconnected systems is important, and this is like something to sell on, because in many cases that we have met rental companies, we can see that they might have actually an okay rental system, but in many cases they have the rental system in addition to a finance system, in addition to a logistics system, and in addition to a system or software for documentation and so on. So what I'm trying to say is that there is a lot of okay, or maybe we can say good rental systems as well, but they don't have like all the features and functions that we have in RamBase overall. So, you know, in RamBase now we have support for all of their processes, so they can use one system for nearly everything, while in other cases they might have a lot of systems. And you know what, these systems needs to talk together and you'll have challenges in such scenarios. So this is
Christian?
yeah.
Yep, and there is a question in the chat that has been there for a while. I'm sorry I didn't notice it before. Can you check and see if you can answer that before you go further?
Of course. Maybe I can read it out loud. Will you in this session also tell us a little about the background of developing and prioritizing the rental module, market and competitor analysis, etc.? Would be nice to know a bit more about that. Yeah. I think I mentioned it maybe a bit slightly more indirect during the session so far, and maybe what I've said just previously around the disconnected systems is one of the reasons for our prioritization or investment of rental. But also what I've said in the beginning as well, that during sales cases, during market research and so on, we were meeting more and more companies that was in the need of rental software. And we also seen while doing market research that there is an increasing adoption of the rental business model, or what we call the service-based business model. So that is at least some of the reasons. If there is others from Hatteland that would like to mention some other reasons as well, that's possible. But also, with the documents and so on that you will get access to, will point you even more into why we've done it, and maybe some like Jørgen is asking for, like competitor, not necessarily analysis, but at least some slides focusing a bit on the details towards the competitors.
Since we are close to the oil and gas industry, and many of our customers are operating in that area, this is a quite common business model where they have revenue streams from renting out or subscriptions or things like in that area. So it's sort of trying to get an improved solution for that industry. And of course, we've had a rental for a long time, and it was due to do an upgrade of that system. So that's why we put so much effort into creating this system.
Can also just short mention that well, there is a lot of opportunities in the Nordics, like for Norway and Sweden. But if we also pull the UK into the context, the rental market or the opportunities in UK is huge. So if we manage to go into that market, there is nearly no limits on what we can do with RamBase in UK for rental. Okay, I think I will finish off some of the remaining slides before the system demo, and just before the system demo, we'll have a short break, since this is a rather long session, Teams session. But I think the slide you have on your screen now, kind of highlights and it's like a summary based on what we've said so far around the processes that we actually do support within rental, but also in context of RamBase in general, because we've not done anything kind of brand new in this project for CRM or documentation and compliance and so on, but it's still available also in the new module. So it means that we'll have all the other features and functions in RamBase, put it into context. We could utilize those as well for rental companies with the file manager, with the opportunities, with the tasks and notes, and you know, all that stuff. I think also we can go slightly through some of the operations, and it's also important to mention something. If you're not familiar with it, it could be good to know that within rental there is something that we call sub-rent, cross-hire, and there's also something that we call customer-owned rental assets. So this happens for almost all rental companies, that they have like a limited rental fleet. So they have a limited quantity of available rental assets within different product types. And as we said, this business is a bit uncertain because it has high season, low season, trends, and so on. But the point is that these types of companies tends to solve nearly all kind of orders or requests, and in some cases where they have a rather high utilization within their rental fleet, you know, for the rental assets that they do own themselves, they might actually cross-hire and sub-rent from other suppliers as well. But also what I mentioned with customer-owned is that, well, at least focusing a bit on the Nordic oil and gas, you'll have like the customer will in many cases be big companies like ConocoPhillips and Aker and Apply and so on, Equinor. And they might actually have a huge rental fleet themselves, but they don't want to or have the option to store it and maintain it themselves. So they will actually position parts of their rental fleet to their suppliers, which is then our customers. So we have good options of flexibility to support the process of the mentioned processes or the mentioned models like cross-hire, sub-rent, and customer-owned rental assets within the new module. I think when it comes to the warehousing, inventory, logistics, and so on, the short message is that it's built in relation to the existing functionalities in RamBase, and we'll come a bit more into that during the demo. Yes. So I think I'll end, this part of the session off by providing you some information, like a selection of the existing customers within both equipment rental and subscription, just to highlight that we have an okay volume of customers within this business model. And you could also see that there is a rather high variance in what they actually are offering to the market. So you'll have some customers which is what we call subscription inclusive, meaning that subscription isn't necessarily their core business, but they have it a bit on the side. software licenses is mentioned several times for the subscription companies, while for the rental companies, it's what I've said with oil and gas. So it's products and services a bit more related to that industry. As some examples. It's a bit challenging to give you highlights or an overview, full overview of a new module in RamBase during an hour, but I'll try my best. And I have a plan, but the point is that if you already know about some features and functions or processes that you're a bit curious on, you can put it in the chat or bring it up during the demo. I think what is mentioned on the slide here represents all the rental processes, and we will be a bit more focused on some of them instead of going through all, because that's not possible to achieve. But I can mention something around rental setup and config. And in this case, I'm not thinking about the setup and config like for the processes or the kind of a data setup. I'm more thinking about how to get this available in your different test systems. So if you would like to have it available, please contact us, mainly support or via your contact person. Then we'll support you to make it available in your test systems as well. Having that said, I can say that for subscription, that is already available in your test system. So you'll get some hints during the session now on which applications to enter and so on. But my plan during this system demo is to start off by introducing some highlights within the setup and config, like the technical way, around the product hierarchy, the rates, which represents pricing, and we'll take it from there. I go more into the rental contract, which plays a vital role for the module. We'll do some just quick processes within logistics. That's often not the most interesting processes, but we'll give you the principles and have a short demo of that as well. Rental is a lot about invoicing. So we will also go into the invoicing part of the module during the system demo. And we would also like to give you some views on different reports. That is a part of the solution now. But I can also say that reporting is a focus going forward the coming weeks and months. So reporting, dashboard, widgets, and so on. But okay, let me rearrange the screen to go into RamBase. So hopefully you'll see RamBase and resolution and so on is good. So it would be nice if
yeah, we can see.
Someone can confirm. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good. So where to start? Let's see.
Maybe the resolution on this one is not that good, so if you can enlarge it a little bit.
Okay.
It's a little small, I guess.
Is it better? Yeah. So the product registry, we've implemented several things, as we were mentioning previously, that we have made a more like a separation between sales and rental than what was before. So we've actually invented something called a product collection, which represents like a product grouping of rental products. I will show you some more examples on that, but in this case I've created a product collection called Blåstrøm, which is a part of our sister company Ydra's product range. So the point is that rental products is still product or art in RamBase, but we have a layer above art, which is then a product collection. So going into a product, you could see that a product that should be a part of the rental fleet must be assigned with a sales type called sales and rental. So that means that this product, this art, which could be a kit or a part or whatever, could be both sold, used as also like the standard parts consumed in production orders and all that, but it could also be rented. So as you'll see on such product, you have this availability section or component on the art, which gives you the insights around availability. So you could see that we have upgraded this one, and in this case, let's say for Haugesund, which is one location, a look still, it says that in this case you have 2 in the sales or in the stock, and you have 8 in your fleet, which then represents the rental part of the product. And to elaborate a bit into that, like I said, the location is still the same. But if you want to activate or start using rental, you should also in the locations tick off a box called "Is rental depot capable?", which means then that the location, in this case Haugesund, is subject for both like the standard processes with sales and all that stuff, as well as rental. But by having this separation between sales stock and rental, you could also get more control of the availability. So within the product, we have a rental folder, which then gives you even more insights into the availability of the rental assets for this Blåstrøm product. So in this case, as most rental companies has multiple locations or multiple depots, as they call it. That's represented by locations in RamBase. And in this case, you could see that this product, rental assets, are being positioned in different depots. So you can see you'll have one depot in Oslo, in Haugesund, in Vats, and so on. So that's kind of some examples on the detail level for the availability. I will not show the process of moving or doing the enrollment of rental assets into the rental fleet, but I can mention that to be able to have something moved into the rental fleet, you'll have to go via the sales stock. There is a separate process of enrolling products from the sales stock to the rental fleet, which takes the goods reception item as the starting point. I can also say that making something available for rental will have you'll need to set up a serial number, and you'll need to have a life cycle management document, or LCM as you know it. What happens in the system then is that you move something out of the sales stock via a stock correction, and you increase the rental fleet with a new goods reception that is created by the system. And financially, this is being treated in a proper way, and you'll have during this process option in RAMBase to have an automatic creation of fixed asset per serial number. I promised to not show it, but I couldn't help myself by going into an goods reception item and show you that you have an option called move goods to rental fleet, which is then the way to go to move something from the sales stock into the rental fleet. Before going more into the details about product, serial number, logistics, fixed assets, and so on, I'll also show what we call recurring rates, which then represents the pricing of rental equipment. So in this case, as we tend to do in demos, I've created a simple, easy to understand rate. So this means that the rate for renting this product has been set to 500 NOK a day, and that's what we call a flat rate. But the point is that within rental, you'll need also flexibility to set up more complex rates, and we support that. I'll try to give you some examples of the most common used rate setups. And in addition to having a flat rate, let's say with a day, you could also set up other rates. So we obviously are supporting the multi-currency, so you can add rates in different currencies. But you can also add rates with different recurring periods. So for one product, you could have one rate for when the day is the recurring period. You can have a rate for week, month, and year, and so on. So this is kind of the setup options for a rate, or at least the most commonly used ways. But you could also set up what we call rate steps, which means that either based on duration or based on quantity, the rate might change during a rental period. So in some cases, for rental companies serving the oil and gas, they'll have like one initial rate, which is could be 100 NOK a day, but after 60 days, it could decrease to 80, as one example. So that flexibility is possible to set up in the recurring rate. Yeah, I'll not show all the options for rate management, but you could also set up customer-specific rates. You can create special rates, which is then considered as one-offs. You could apply discounts and so on, which then will be taken into consideration when giving quotes and confirming orders and all that stuff. Going back to a bit more like the products and logistics, the end game of a enrollment, moving from sales stock to the rental fleet, is that the system will create something that we've called rental unit, which is, you could say, like a twin to the LCM, but it contains all the needed rental information, whereby the LCM is a bit more in the direction of something else. But the point is that a rental unit then represents a serialized rental asset. So when it's being moved from the sales stock, it will get its available from dates, it will get its value based on the acquisition value, meaning that if you have bought something into the rental fleet, it will take into consideration the purchase price and freight if you have enabled that company setting. But it also represents the fixed asset value. In this case, I've not connected the rental unit to a fixed asset, but I should have, because it goes above the level. I think it's 30,000 NOK. That is the rule. But the point is that if you do connect the rental unit to a fixed asset is usually being depreciated. So the current value will then be updated along with the depreciation plan in RamBase. And that's rather important, because setting up depreciation plans and rule sets in RamBase for expensive equipment is I would say mandatory to do. So a rental unit, to summarize, contains the important information, rental oriented. It points you towards the LCM that was created before the enrollment into the rental fleet. And if you buy something, you might create the LCM manually. If you manufacture something or use a production work order to prepare a product to be capable for rental, the LCM will be existing in RamBase. So in this case, you can see that going back to the product collection or the group level, you'll have this Blåstrøm. And within that product group, you have different products or arts. And you have within a specific product art, you'll have an overview over the rental units, which is then serialized units. So a quantity one for all of these. This rental unit will also contain information if it's owned by a supplier, where you've done a cross hire, or if it's owned by a customer, if you're storing and maintaining rental units on behalf of another customer. And speaking about the availability, we've implemented something that we call a calendar, which in this case indicates that for the serialized rental unit that we are inspecting now, it's blocked for allocation because it's being stored at a stock location, which is blocked for linking. So the calendar will represent that the rental unit is not available for the future. While other ones within the rental fleet in Haugesund or what, you could see that the calendar tells you something else. So in this case, you're inspecting a rental unit that's being on rent, and the rental is planned to end in the start of January next year. So this is a visual good way of reviewing your rental fleet when it comes to the availability. And this is also information that is being available for the sellers when they're doing an entry of a quote or an order on a rental contract that we will inspect a bit later on. So you'll have this calendar with the availability, both on serial number level as well on a product level. Because when getting some request from a customer and so on, it's not necessarily the serial number that is the most important thing to check when it comes to availability. It's more like the accumulated numbers of the product. So you'll then have a calendar taking the product level into consideration. And in this case, I can see that all days are green because you'll have at least one product or one serial number of this product available for all future days. And if you have different depots, you can put that into the context to see, okay, maybe the end game is that you don't have anything available in Oslo, even though you've had in this case, but you can then easily, okay, do I have something in Haugesund? And if so, I can choose to either rent it out from Haugesund or I can initiate what we call a goods transfer to move it to Oslo. So this is a bit into the details, but that might be the case also by going into RamBase. So that was a bit around kind of the rental setup, the config. Some of the logistic processes were mentioned. The stuff with rates, with product levels, and so on has been covered. If there are some questions around that, please feel free. If not, I will continue with going into the rental contract.
Come on, people. Now it's your chance to get a direct answer from Christian.
No, that's fine. Just use the chat or something if needed. What we've opened now is what we call the rental overview, which first of all lists all rental contracts that we will dive into. But it also gives you some widgets and KPIs, which is relevant for rental. So in this case, it will give you some information about how many active contracts you have and quotes and so on, but also more detailed levels of invoice status with amounts that has been invoiced, but also into another level again with revenues. Because as you can see, for rental, you'll have the combination of the rental period. You'll have the recurring rates, and you'll have the quantities of different products into the mix. So that means that to be able to capture kind of the value of a contract, we've implemented calculations for that. But also for rental companies that would like to say, okay, one thing is the total value of a contract, another thing is the remaining forecasted revenue, because for some contracts, and as with this one that we will go into in some seconds, it started off the 6th of January, and some time has passed, so the forecast has decreased, while the accrued revenue has increased, but none of it has been invoiced yet, and so on. So this is rather important information for rental and for rental contracts. A bit back to the overview, you'll have different filtering capabilities to impact the KPIs. If you do want to filter on specific customer groups, customer product and so on, you can easily do so. Also, we'll have this quick search engine, or whatever we should call it, which gives you the option to search on chosen criteria if you want to, or if you're looking for a specific contract or a specific set of contracts. So I think it's time to go into the rental contract that I've created for this demo purpose. So what you actually can see now is a rental contract which contains a lot of contract items. And the point is that a rental contract is supposed to be the core basis for all processes from quote until the end of a rental period. To highlight that, in this case, I've created a lot of items. Some of them are quote items, most of them are rental items, and some is even subscription or out of subscription type. So the point is, with a rental contract compared to standard documents, as we call them in RAMBase, a rental contract has a fixed ID, meaning that all necessarily or all needed changes is happening on the same contract without changing the ID. Which again means that we have a version log that contains kind of all revisions, all changes that has been made for the containing contract items. So the version log is not being, I mean, the versions are not being created automatically because we've put it the other way around. It's based on internal procedures because it could be that different from customer to customer on what they call versions or what even their clients would like to call versions. So it's based on like a snapshot concept that you can create new versions via a CMI, as we call it, create new version, and the system will then take a snapshot of the version and create a new one. So for this case, there's two versions of the contract, and the first one is a snapshot over the contract while it was in version nil, in this case, the initial version. While when I actually replaced some rental units within the contract, I was creating a new version called version 1. And you can see that version 1 contains one additional contract item compared to the initial version. And the way to go to kind of inspect all changes within a version is that you can, in context of a contract item, click on this icon that will then give you a list over, okay, what has happened with this contract item, who did change, what did I change, and when, and so on. So I guess you're familiar with this when it comes to the like kind of the revision history log that we have in other documents in RAMBase. The version is also implemented on the different printouts, so meaning quotes and order overview and so on is exposing this version, at least in the standard prints. A contract in this case is created on behalf of a customer called Aqua Group, which has this standard inputs is being used with option to change, obviously, like an ordinary order in RAMBase. But also important for rental, as I mentioned earlier, is the invoicing. Because rental is all about recurring invoices or invoicing. And in this case, I've set up a contract from the start of this year until the end of next year. And I've set the contract up with monthly invoicing. The invoicing should happen first of each month in what we call arrears and not in advance. This can be set up when creating new contracts, but it could also be changed during the lifetime of a contract if for some reason the contract should not be invoiced on a monthly basis, but on a quarterly or a weekly or whatever basis. You could also enable automatical creation of invoices, and you can enable advance invoicing. Advance invoicing is more common in subscription than in rental. But the point is that in this case, as I have some order items, based on my knowledge, I can see that there is 4 contract items with different quantities being on rent because of the status code. I have some contract items where the rental unit has been returned. And I have some contract items where the quote is active. You're waiting for client response. But the point is different quantities, different rental periods, different rates, and some of them has been discounted. But the point is that as I've set up monthly invoicing, the system then will create and maintain what we call invoice periods. So this forms the kind of the invoice basis. And it's being set up monthly, so you'll have separate invoice periods during the period of the contract. So you'll have invoice period for each month until the end of 2027. And again, different status codes reflecting which is the active period, which is future periods, and so on. And in this case, just for like a show off, I've created an invoice for kind of a date range within January. Even though January hasn't passed yet, you can also create invoice for within a selected date range of the invoice period. We'll come a bit back to the invoicing after a while. We've gone through now the kind of on a main level on the contract, some of the folders with the most important settings and so on. And I think it's about time to go into a contract item to see how that looks and which features and functions are available from the contract item. So in this case, I'm inspecting a contract item which is towards this Ydra Blåstrøm fish thing, which has been set up with quantity 2. And we have something called a planner, which is most commonly used while doing an order or quote entry. But the point is that it might remind you of the calendar that we inspected a bit earlier. But the point is that you as a seller or project manager or whatever you should call it, in context of a rental contract item, can actually get access about the availability of the product that you've added to the contract. And this is using the same principles to see that, okay, some of the serialized rental units for this product is actually on rent. Some has been allocated to order. Some is not available, while other serialized units is actually available, but from other depots or other locations. And as I said, in context of order creation before you actually do check out or ship the rental units, this is also the place to go if you would like to change some of the allocations that RamBase has done. Let me try to find a better example. Was not lucky today, but the principle is we can actually try to create a new contract item. The point is that we have this rather useful drag and drop functionality within the planner. So if you during the creation of, in this case, an order item, in status 1, RamBase will then, based on some principles, allocate certain serial numbers. But if for some reason you as a seller would like to change to something else, you can then go into the planner and drag and drop the period to actually allocate other serial numbers than what has been done by the system. So I think it's useful to mention this planner, and this is a typical like a show-off application during sales demos. I mean, for leads. Other than that, we have something called a calendar, because in rental, everything is broken down to day level when it comes to time utilization, financial utilization, kind of allocation or booking of equipment, but also reporting. You would like to report on what you have earned revenue in total for a certain day or a certain period. So the calendar represents for each contract item. This is then broken down to day level. So in this case, again, for the same product, you can see that for January, as the rental was starting the 6th, you'll have information from the period the rental was starting, and you'll have the option also to review all the periods for the planned rental period. And the point is that if you just want to go into this for fun to get a bit more insights into the rental, the calendar might be a good application to use. But it's also an option, or gives you options to either for the total quantities of what you have on rent, or based on serial number, you can go in and say you've received a call from your client that this product is not working as it should, or whatever. You can then go in on day level, on a serial number level, and update the period to say that rental off because the units are not working, or something like that. That will then update the invoice basis by this, or the system will then update the invoice basis, so you don't end up charging for these periods. As I said, this is one out of a lot of examples about the needed flexibility within equipment rental for software to be able to handle these types of scenarios. Quoting, we're briefly mentioning that within the contract, you can either start a contract by creating a quote, or you can actually, in mid of a rental contract period, create a quote if the customer wants to extend the rental contract. So then you'll have an option to create separate quotes within a contract, and if the client then is accepting the quote, the system will then convert the quote items into order items within the system, as you saw one example of now. So you don't need to create them in multiple times, but the system will then convert a bit compared to the forwarding functionality for other documents in RAMBase. I think we can use some time on reviewing some of the outputs. So the quote was mentioned. You can see that we have created several new outputs for or within the rental module, and the contract quote is one. We'll also created like what we call the contract order overview. We have something called a ticket or return ticket, sorry, as well as documents or printouts for the shipping advice, for invoice, pro forma invoice, credit note, and so on. We will have a look at the invoice a bit later. So we will serve standard, like global standard prints, but I do know that some of you partners has the knowledge and software is available to do or to customize prints on behalf of your customers. I think the next steps is a short information about logistics, because after you've confirmed order items, that has like to make it available, move it from a future rental to an active rental. We do use the shipping advice or CSA. So that follows rather standard processes in RAMBase, and you'll have information in different applications, but from the contract you'll also get information if the shipment process has been completed or if it started. So in short, the process for a shipping advice is like a standard process, like doing the forwarding to pick-and-queue, picking, and so on. But we do have separate applications for the handheld devices. One example is an application called Rental Pick, where you can actually, when a shipping advice has been pushed forward to the pick-and-queue, you can actually scan serial numbers in a custom order, and the system will then update the shipping advice based on the serial number. Because in rental, normally the system will allocate some serial numbers based on a system setup, but it is actually the service team preparing the assets and choosing the proper asset that decides which serial number that will be the actual one for the rental. And then you'll have the process of a service order, and the end game is that the service team or the workshop team is then picking serial numbers into a shipping advice of type rental contract, and then tells the system which serial number has been picked for the rental period. And for this handover process from the sales team working mostly on the rental contract, we have a separate application called Rental Item Checkout, which then lists all contract items that is kind of a pending shipment. And the point here is that this list can be rather long, but you'll have the option to sort based on time until checkout date. So it will tell the typical service team leader which products to start preparation for the earliest. Then the principle is that they get information in this application, either by using different search criteria, and then creating the shipping advice, creating service orders, and then ultimately doing the picking towards the CSA. So the end game then will be that you'll have rental contract items in status 4, which then represents active rental. As you can see on the serial number level, that the item will be updated with on rent. And it will be on rent. Usually within rental, you have like an initial forecast or plan, or you've been getting some input on when you think you'll receive the rental assets in return, but you would like them obviously to stay on rent for forever. So the point is that you'll have like I said, an initial plan that in this case for this contract items it will remain at least until 31st of December. That can change both ways. It could be longer, it could be shorter. And the point is that the system will keep track of this. If someone in the depot or warehouse is creating a reception, it will update the invoice basis, the correlated dates in the contracts, and all the stuff around availability and so on will be updated. If something gets stuck on rent longer than planned, the system will then automatically move the expected check-in date, either day by day, or you can set up company settings with customized like intervals. The principle compared to when something is planned to be shipped or checked out, as they call it in rental, from being returned or checked in, is the same. You'll have an application called Rental Units Ready for Check-in, where you can then, at least in the version we have now, search for and select multiple serial numbers and forward them to a goods reception. So the end game, something being on rental when it's being returned by your client, you'll identify the products by serial number or other inputs and tell the system that it has been returned via this application, choose the desired return date and then the new stock location. So that is the process. So the system will then create new goods receptions, update the rental contract, and all that magic will happen in the background. So this is the current process for that, and we do have stuff ongoing for making this process even better, also by support of the RamBase app, on like the mobility app that can be utilized on a phone or a tablet, where you can scan these serial numbers and stuff like that. So I think we've covered rental products, units, overview, check-in, check-out, rates, and so on. We'll have spend some minutes on customer invoicing or rental invoicing, and some reports before we end it up. So the invoicing, have in mind what we've seen with the invoice periods and so on. There is separate ways of invoicing rental contracts. If you do the kind of a regular invoicing month by month or whatever period it is, and you do invoice or would like to invoice in bulk, you can utilize the Customer Invoice Management or CIM application, where we've implemented a rental to folder. So here you can search based on different criteria, being customer, if you would like to create multiple invoices for a specific customer. You can search on like the PO number or the customer reference number and so on. So the point is, and in this case I weren't lucky because I didn't have any, but the point is that you're filtering out based on certain criteria, and you're clicking on the create invoice for filtered. Then the system will then create multiple invoices in status 1 for further processing. So this is typically supports the end of month invoicing. If you for some reason would like to invoice on a contract basis, contract by contract, you'll have option to do that from the invoice period application. Clicking on the period or periods that you would like to create invoice for, and the system will then create the invoices in status 1. You could also, if you want to do it, go into, like I showed previously, into a specific day for a specific serial number and create an invoice for that. But usually it's invoiced in bulk or in some cases invoiced based on a contract level. So an invoice will be created, like I said, in status 1. Some companies within this industry is then just registering the invoice, sending it directly to the customer, while others might create what we call the pro forma invoice. So you're kind of sending an invoice for approval before you're sending the final invoice. Let us see the printout. In this case, we've created an invoice for a week for a specific product from the contract that we have spent some time on. And you'll get information. Again, this is standard, like global standard prints. You'll get information about the contract ID, the period, the rate, and so on. So in this case, you'll actually invoiced for 2 rental assets. So some clients would like to, and in addition to have kind of the summary, they would like to have also specified which serial numbers has been invoiced. And this will be presented on the kind of not the back side, but the other pages. So this will kind of be the summary, while the serial number level will be on the next pages on an invoice or a credit note or a pro forma invoice. And yeah, you know the drill. So that was a bit short and sweet about invoicing, and crediting is kind of the standard way in RamBase. So you can either create a credit note from an invoice, or you could actually also create credit notes from invoice periods that has been processed in status 9 and invoiced. Unless there is some, let me check the chat. Unless there is some questions, I will end it off by going into some reports. And there's set of reports available, and like I said, this is continuous work. So we are working by implementing or inventing even more reports and the dashboards and stuff. But one important report is a report that is actually grouped by different criteria, but it's called recurring revenue summary. So this takes the rental contract into consideration. So you can either by customer or, like I said, product or contract, get like a summary over the recurring revenue in total for your company. So in this case, as I do only have one contract for Aqua Group, it's listing the same information like we have already seen for the contract. But as I said, you will get this accumulated based on the different set of contracts within one customer in this case. So here you can also set in, so this is typically used in like preparation for board meetings or budgeting or stuff like that, because you can also put in like date intervals. So in this case, you can ask the system, please give me the totals for only February. So I can report to the board that for February, we have a budgeted income, in this case, for almost 30,000 NOK. As one example. So this is a standard report available with all the options to like scheduling, filtering, and stuff. Another one gives you the overview over all your rental units by depot. So giving you the important information both about the operational status. Okay, is the rental unit available? Is it on rent and allocated and all that stuff? But also gives you the value. Pending allocation request is rather important to get to know about because the rental module, as RamBase in general, lets you exceed the available depot levels or stock levels. So if I first introduce this in a contract before ending it off in a report, you can see that in some cases you'll have a warning icon. In this case, it means that you've actually confirmed 2 order items on a contract for a certain period, but you don't have enough rental assets to be able to serve the client with the 10 or the 1. So the system will then create what we call placeholder rental units, so kind of a dummy rental units, which then will automatically be changed or replaced by actual rental units when something is being returned, some other orders or quotes are being cancelled, if you acquire new rental units and move them to the fleet, and all this internal logistics that can happen. But it doesn't update PUR, the purchasing application, because normally within rental you're solving these challenges with other things than buying new stuff. You might, as I said, move stuff between depots. You might cross-hire something from other suppliers and so on. The point with this report is then that it lists you or gives you a list of all contract items that has unfilled or not fulfilled stock levels or depot levels. So you need to pay, this gives you or serves your list where you need to pay attention. You've confirmed something or given quotes on something that you don't have enough availability to be able to solve. I think that was about it. Rental in 1 hour demo. There's a lot of more details and applications and stuff, but should be able to consume it as well.
Mm-hmm. Good. Can I have a question? You showed also the rental report, and you had them, but you had it bookmarked. Will all these rental reports be available in the rental module, in the report module? Yeah. So
Yeah.
once you get to turn on the rental module, you'll get all these as well.
You will, and I also used bookmarks to navigate, but we will just before the launch make sure that the regular shortcuts will be updated with the new applications and stuff.
Yeah. But for partners then that want to have access to the rental module now, they need to send in a ticket on that, or contact any of us, me or something.
Yeah, the kind of the standard contact points. So either support or you, or maybe both. I don't know. Yes, there might be some questions in the end, or did I promise to show you something that I ended up not showing? Please help me out.
Any questions from anyone here? Everything is crystal clear. That's amazing for this one.
I can take the opportunity to congratulate Christian and the team and us for getting such a powerful tool for rental operations, because this is a great addition to the RAN-based ERP system. So this gives also you and us the opportunity to sell this to rental companies, to existing companies and new companies that are not doing rental but can see a potential in generating revenue streams outside of their normal business. So this is a great addition, not only for us to sell, but also for our customers and new customers to provide new business models in their markets and generate new revenue streams. So this is absolutely a great addition that gives both you and us new opportunities. This PowerPoint, just to mention this, like we can also do some administrative stuff here at the end. This PowerPoint will be available for you today. There is also additional material that we are working on that is soon to be released to you, that will be provided by Elin when it's ready. And of course, also documentation will be ready before this is generally available. So all those things will be handled, and you will get further information as things progress. It's important for us to show you this now, so you can start thinking about it and the potential. And I guess if you don't have any questions now, it's because it's a lot of information, but things will pop up later on, unless you have questions while I've been talking.
Yeah, Jürgen raised his hand. Come on, Jürgen.
He had his thumb up.
Just a thumb up. Sorry, I pressed the wrong button.
Okay.
It's a common mistake.
Yeah. Okay. But just another question. The solution today is not available to be sold to businesses that are running with a business model being rental. It's only for today for a solution for businesses that has rental as a additional business model. Isn't that correct?
No.
Can you do both?
That's not. You can do both, and
Okay.
you can start selling when you kind of feel ready for it, because selling takes time, and we are for sure ready by then. So,
Okay.
And as I said also during the presentation, that please don't be holding back for approaching us. We will gladly help out, both qualifying leads and support in general.
Okay, very good. So that's a whole new business opportunity. That's really good. Yep.
Okay. Then
Any other questions?
I think people are ready for lunch, maybe.
Yeah, I think they are. Okay. The recording here and the additional documentation and so on will come on the partner portal as soon as possible, hopefully by the end of the day.
Thanks for your time.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.